Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night, so that means it's time for Arkansas Motorsports Magazine's Tuesday Night Tune-Up. I'm Bill Gilkey with co-host Heath Tate, and we're here tonight in Ward, Arkansas. And I'm going to get everybody out of order here, so raise your hand. We're here with Kevin Simkins, Gage Raines, Titan Crump, and last but not least, Bryce Bowen.
Yes.
All right, I want to make sure that I got that pronounced right. We're here with these Mod Lite guys tonight, and it's our very first show featuring Mod Lite racing here in the state of Arkansas. And we want to thank our sponsor tonight, Chambers Bank, with 28 locations throughout Arkansas. Shaw Race Cars up in Batesville, Arkansas. We appreciate everything the Mosley family does for Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. We want to thank Skyway Buick GMC in Joplin, Missouri. Buying a vehicle has never been easier over the internet if you do it the Skyway way. And if you'll buy a vehicle before the end of the week, he will go to the Skyway team and deliver the keys.
Mooney wore me out this week.
Mooney wore you out this week, did he? Well, I'm glad he was able to.
Yeah.
We also want to thank Kevin Rogers at KR Performance Fuels. And we want to thank Arkansas's #1 online auctioneer, that's True Grit Auctions, down in Dardanelle, Arkansas, Gary and Cindy Morrison. They got some fantastic auctions going on this week. They got the Faulkner County.
If you need a gun, check it out.
Yeah, they got the Faulkner County Sheriff's Department, I believe, auction going, so check that out.
Everybody's a gun.
We also want to thank tonight New Vision Custom Shirts up in Batesville, Arkansas. And while we're on the subject, we want to do a little advertising here for the Petit Jean River Monster Festival coming up September the 18th down in downtown Danville, Arkansas. Benefiting the Lieutenant Kevin Mainhart Scholarship Fund. And these shirts, New Vision Custom Shirts, got them out last week. Great job they done on them. And I tell you what we're going to do tonight. If you'll like the show, between now and tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a drawing for a free Petit Jean River Monster t-shirt. And that's going to be coming up, like I said, September the 18th. So like the show tonight before 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'll put your name in a drawing for a free Petit Jean River Monster t-shirt. That was developed by New Vision Graphics, who, you know, by the way, got behind us and want to do this Mod Lite show tonight. So keep New Vision custom shirts in your plans when you need custom shirts out there. So with that, I'll kick it back over to Heath Tate with the Western Petroleum Weekly Racing Report. Heath, what you got?
I guess when we started off, they had the Mod Lite show down in Diamond Park. That's what we're doing here. It's Mod Lite's Tex Myers Memorial race down there, and I guess Blake Wilson won that. And I don't know if all you guys were there. We didn't make it down there. You was the only one who got to go down the run.
I didn't have a good night. I didn't get the car fixed in time for my Friday night wreck.
We want to say congratulations to him and Kevin Weaver from Little Rock. He went.
Randy.
I meant Randy. He went up to Batesville, took his stock car and won up there.
IMCA
stock car. Jeff Tucker won the mod race up there. I think he won it with Jim also.
Saturday night. Good things going for Shaw Race Car.
Yeah, there. And just shout out to Willie Morgan Jr. He won this past weekend a couple times. And
matter of fact, he's going to be on the show.
Yeah, get him on here. But yeah, pretty good racing this week.
Anything you know of coming up this week?
More racing.
More racing. What about Mod Lights this week?
Mod Lights.
We're going to be racing at I-30 Speedway this Saturday. 30 plus cars. I also know that Diamond Park Speedway will be having a regular Saturday night show as well.
Yep.
Just going to be a lot of great Mod Lite action here in the state.
I think Diamond Park's got some street stock racing also going on this week.
Okay.
So,
well, Heath, let's get right into tonight's show. like I said tonight, it's all about these Mod Lights, and we're excited to be here in Ward, Arkansas with you guys tonight, and I'll let you kick it off.
Well, what do we always do is we'll start down there, I guess. And how you got into racing and what you doing now?
I got into racing by my grandfather. He's been racing many years. I just found a love for it. Got strapped in the car one night, ain't looked the seats. I ain't been racing Mod Lights very long, but I got the Mod Lights about, I'd say 3 years ago, and found love for it. Don't plan on racing other cars.
What'd you start off running?
Start off running the factory stuff.
Factory stocks. Steel body car.
Yes, sir. Full body, street stuff. Yes, sir.
What else here?
I got my number from Grandpa. That's where I came up with it. I just added the T on it. Looking forward to racing every weekend as much as I can. It's kind of stopped me a little bit this year. I had my first newborn. I'm going to be back racing soon. Had a good lead. I wrecked a couple weeks ago and been down a minute, but about the next 2 weeks I'll be back racing. I love the Mod Lights. I love the class. Everyone around us, they don't mind giving a hand, and that's what it's about. There's been a lot of these guys engaged, Kevin, Bryce, they've helped me so much, That's what it takes to race.
We'll move on to Kevin. Kevin?
I got into racing. My dad used to go with Jim Martin and Todd Johnson back years ago. And he used to pit crew for them. And I used to go back with him all the time, watch it. In 2000, I got got in the first car, it was modified. And I raced him about 2008, 2009. I sold out. I got my divorce. And after that, I didn't get back in one until the boss's car, the boss's son's car, his factory stock. I got in one. I got in him the last year PV. Ran it, then I was out of it.
Got back in 2 years ago.
Yeah, I drove a buddy of mine named Nick Chisler's car one night on the go-kart track beside Little Rock, and kind of liked it. Then another buddy of mine, Eric Perry, from I showed a couple weeks ago. He had a buddy up in Benton, Kentucky, had his car. So I got a hold of him and I swung with around there about 2 or 3 weeks, and finally I went and looked at it and bought it. Been in ever since.
Well, now we'll move down to Ryan down here, who I know has been racing for 100 years. He doesn't look like he's that old.
I feel like it.
But he's raced about everything that you can race. Like I said, I remember back when he was racing full-fledged sprint cars. And we'll just let you take off.
Well, I grew up in a racing family. My stepfather, Mike Campbell, ran sprint cars for as long as I can remember. We had the McDonald's sprint car for many years. I spent a lot of my childhood in the grandstands back before you had to be 18 years old to get in pits. And when I got to be old enough, I was his pit crew, and then played with some go-karts. And I remember one day I came home from school before my folks did, and UPS had ran. It was a big box, and it was a sprint car seat. And I said, man, that's an awfully small seat. But I knew then that my life would change, and I would start running the family sprint car. I did that from 15. When I was 15 years old for a long time. Took some time off, and I had a sponsor who had 2 Mod Lights, one for his son and one for me, is Randy Brickell, and got to dabble with the cars a little bit. They were a lot of fun. Definitely a different style of driving. And then after we went back sprint car racing, for a few more years, and then I took some time off from racing to become a promoter and help put on big events in kart racing throughout the Mid-South. And then about 3 years ago, I realized how much fun I had with these Mod Lights, and I bought me a car. And you know, one thing I love about this class is when I ran sprint cars, it was so expensive, and there was a lot of pressure that I put on myself because I knew when I went to the racetrack it cost so much money. Whereas with the Mod Lite, it doesn't cost that much, you know, just to go, and I'm able to enjoy racing, and to be able to go and just have a relaxing time at the track, and you get to meet, you know, some great people that you compete against, and like Titan said, we've all helped each other at some point or another, and it's just a very laid-back environment of racing, and you can actually enjoy being at the track, and that's what I love so much about these cars and this class. And probably a Mod Lite, probably the last thing I race until my body says I can't race no more.
What was and this is kind of with you and Kevin, the difference in the Mod Lite and say the sprint car as far as the driving ability of the two cars, and you with the modified?
The modifieds, I'm used to slinging it in, you can't sling it in.
Yeah, you have to really slow down your hand movements. You have to, I guess the word finesse the car, whereas a sprint car, you can get it sideways and you have just so much raw horsepower at your disposal. Where at these cars, you have to be smooth. You know, you have to, you know, hone your skills to where, you know, you're not just jerking the car sideways, where you're trying to keep it as straight as possible and just keeping your momentum built up.
Yeah, I ain't used to that.
Just also the cars are much lighter weight, and you know, people ask me, said, "You miss racing sprint cars?" I said, "Well, I mean, nothing compared to sprint car, but these cars are a lot of fun, and people are really missing out on racing a Mod Lite. It's just a fun experience."
Jake, what about you?
Well,
We were warned about you last week.
oh yeah. Well, I've been at a racetrack since I was about 3 weeks old, and grew up watching him race sprint cars. A lot of people don't realize it, but we're cousins.
We're cousins.
So my dad's always helping them and around the race car. I can remember being a kid driving his sprint car back to the trailer after a feature at Riverside while Uncle Mike or him pushed us. My grandfather raced for years at Riverside in the hobby stock class and stuff like that. So I grew up in it just as well. And we started racing, I think it's about 2007. We got factory stock and raced it for about 3 years and was winning just about everything we could get our hands on. Then we moved to hobby stock and won the championship there, and then mini stock, and we kind of went backwards there for a minute and won a lot of races in it. Then we jumped from modifieds back to mini stocks and back into modifieds and then somewhere in between there I had a Mod Lite and got out of it and went back to big modifieds. I let my boss talk me into getting modified. And
I can't imagine.
I know, right? I don't know why they would have done that.
I can't see Mark Norris doing
Right.
that.
But it was a really enjoyable experience racing with him and getting to hang out and have a good time. We went to Super Nationals with him a couple of times. I never got to race in Super Nationals, but I went with him twice. It was a lot of fun. And then I just like him, I realized how much fun I had in these cars. And they're by far my favorite car. And we got back in it. I raced for Robbie Lawson 2 years ago there towards the end of the season while his daughter was having her baby and everything, Sam. And we raced at the beginning of the next season, and she was ready to get back in the car, so I stepped to the side and she got back in, and I went on the hunt trying to find one. We've been in it since then.
As this class gains in popularity,
Absolutely.
and as it's gained in popularity, like I said, I like to go back to the days this kind of race kind of got started back. And we talked about it with Mark Norris last week, who is a phenomenal modified driver. And a lot of people may not realize, but he actually got his start, you know, in the old, and we talked about, like I said, they were kind of crude, the old Wharf cars, you know, when they first came out. And I guess what I'm going to lead into is the Shaw Race Cars question of the week. As this thing gains in popularity, are y'all expecting a lot of transition from other classes, drivers from other classes getting into Mod Lights? And I ask that because obviously Bryce here, he's raced everything under the sun. He was great. When do you think that we'll start seeing more of a transition from other classes? Not everybody answers that.
I think we're already seeing it. I mean, obviously, we've been in modifieds, he's been in sprint cars. There's several other people that have come out of different classes. I think there's a guy that ran late models that are racing with us now.
Yeah.
Beach, he was in late models, correct?
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing it slowly, and I think it'll pick up momentum as the class grows.
I think the class is, like you said, it's growing right now. I think an untapped market is I go out to the go-kart tracks where I find people that want to move out of kart racing but don't want the expense of, say, a competitive modified or late model, and I tell them about the Mod Lights. So we're starting to see people coming from the karting rinks into the Mod Lights, but also the mini stocks. We got some mini stock racers that have switched over. I know Rodney Ashley, he ran mini stocks. I just think that I won't say you're seeing the transition from the highest level of dirt motorsports, but I want to say your people that race weekly, like your stock car classes, they're the ones I'm starting to see more and more transitioning into a Mod Lite.
Right now, we do a lot of stock car, regular stock cars, like factory stocks and mini stocks, and a few of them more.
I think there's been like 15 cars sold in Arkansas this past year, so people are buying them.
And the class has been a little thin over on the east side of the state. It's picking up momentum quite a bit too.
And let's talk about where all y'all go. I know y'all primarily race at I-30, but let's talk about other tracks that are having Mod Lite programs throughout the year. Maybe not on a weekly basis, but to let the racer and office watching tonight, where all do y'all travel and race?
So you probably know better than me.
Well, we have a series called Modlights of Arkansas, and one of our founding principles is to promote the growth of Mod Lite racing in the state of Arkansas. We use I-30 Speedway as a home base, and from there, we go out to the other tracks and try to expose this class to people that never seen it before, and these same people will buy cars and want to get into the sport. This year, we tried to go to Diamond Park Speedway, and Mother Nature just didn't have nothing of it. And there's already a good growing Mod Lite program there, and that's something that I love to see. I mean, their program is really growing, and it's a lot of positives coming from there. And then we go to other tracks that do not have a Mod Lite program. Like we go to Old Number 1 Speedway in Harrisburg, which I think they're starting to get Mod Lights there. We've raced at Greenville Speedway already, and we're set to go to Central Arkansas Speedway in Plummerville.
Oh, Central Arkansas.
And then we have our last travel race at the end of July will be at Crawford County Speedway in Van Buren.
We've got a busy month.
Yeah, we got 5 races in 4 weeks coming up for us. I try to hit every Saturday night track in the state of Arkansas, and I forgot Riverside and West Memphis when that was a rain out. And we'll go to Greenville because it's just across the border. But we want to get this class exposed to as many Arkansas dirt tracks as possible, so people will take an interest in it and therefore help keep growing the class.
And I don't think I've showed up at one of these out-of-town tracks yet. It's somebody else, man, wow, what are them things?
Oh yeah.
And by the end of the night, they're just baffled at what we can do.
And what we're talking about, I don't want to necessarily get into the individual cost of the race ready car, but let's talk about cost on a weekly basis. What are going to be the costs if you just load the car up? Let's talk about fuel. What's the maintenance cost per week on a car?
Not much. Not much. I mean, you gotta think, if you're going to put racing fuel in these factory stocks, you're gonna have to spend $100, about even the night for racing fuel. I can put $14, $15 in a can, and it lasts me all night.
And what fuel are you running?
I run just straight pump gas, 93.
You know, see, that's an important issue right there for people out here that don't know, is that they don't have to go somewhere and buy a racing fuel. When they get ready to leave home, they can pull into the local convenience store and get a tank of gas and head out to the races.
You never make money racing. I don't think anyone ever makes money racing unless you get on up there in them higher classes. But
they're not making money either.
yeah, on a normal night, if let's say I run top 5, no more than I spend going to the track with my wife or pit passes in the gas to get there. If we run decent on a night, we can usually get close to breaking even just on that night, not on the expense of the car, but on the cost of the night.
As long as you don't tear up nothing.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly. As long as you don't tear nothing up, you run decent, you can get pretty close.
Just and another thing with these compared to, I know running the modified, change the tires every race. And on this, you don't have to do that. Am I right?
They should burn them up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying, but I mean, on the average, you're not having to sit there and go through a set of tires every race.
No, the tire life on these cars is incredible. You know, I'm sure we all do. A lot of us like to keep flipping our tires, keeping the fresh edge on them. I know, I won't say last year because we were short for COVID, but the previous year, you know, I pretty much ran the same set of tires to the halfway point, and then I just wanted new tires because the big races were coming up and I wanted to have the best tires possible. But as far as tire wear, these tires, you know, last a long time as long as you don't hit no rubbered up racetracks.
And what's the tire going for these days?
You know, Mid-State Racing is the official seller of Mod Lite tires in Arkansas, and it's $125.
Which is not a bad deal for the amount of use that you get out of the tire.
No.
I had eight tires the first last year, and I was looking at 8 that I had.
I mean, that, you know, like I said, that's a cost savings in itself,
yeah.
and you're out there running competitive, so.
You burn up the set tires in the future.
Right.
These cars are not like a factory car. You're not gonna go out there and roll that tire off that thing. No, absolutely.
And the other thing that I think impresses people with your classes is the respect and the room y'all give each other out on the track. Most of the time, you know, you're not going to go out there and see a bunch of cars destroyed in a race. You're here to elaborate on that. I mean, we know things are going to happen in races, but compared to other classes, y'all have a pretty clean show.
I come from big body cars mainly, and you know, we could rub, beat, and bang, and those things a little bit. You do that in one of these, and you're on your lid. So there's a lot of respect that goes into it.
Just, you know, everybody helping everybody. I mean, the last thing you want to do is to tear your car up, because then you're going to need help from your other friends in Modlights. They got to take care of their cars. But there's just a great respect because at the end of the night, you know, we realize we're not racing for a large amount of money, and it's not worth, you know, me going to door slam and gauge. You know, a lot of times I'm going to leave this man some room, and he's going to give me the same
He's
respect.
quite a bit bigger than the rest of us.
Now, for the win, I play door slam.
I don't know if we want to talk about doors.
But there's a great respect because a lot of us, we just want to leave the track, wash our cars off, and put them in the trailer for the next race.
And for those people at home that don't know, let's talk about the engines that run in these small cars. A lot of people out there don't know what power is a Mod Lite. So let's go through the drivetrain of the Mod Lite. Somebody would.
There's an engine motor, 1,000cc engine motor, you know, power, I don't know, you get another one there.
Usually the range is anywhere from 180 horsepower up to about 200 horsepower based on what year motor you run.
And I'm looking here at Kevin's car, and it's obviously equipped with a Gixxer 1000 and plenty of power to go out there and do racing. And then actually the engines of these cars are turned sideways. And a lot of people will think, well, motorcycle, it's chain driven, but actually there's a drive shaft. And And what do y'all explain the rear end setup about the rear end being offset in this car, the drive shaft?
Well, like you said, the motor's turned sideways, and where the sprocket would normally go, there's what we call a hawk adapter that runs the drive shaft back to a quick change rear end, like you'd see in a modified or a late model. It's just scaled down, and the chunk sets to the right side because everything sets to the right side of that motor. Your drive shaft runs right down the side of it, and I think Bryce has had one come apart and try to beat it to death. For the most part, it all stays in its confined area, and we don't have a whole lot of issues out of it. It runs back to a quick change rear end. Easy to change gears. It makes it a lot more user-friendly versus the old Toyota 9-inch or 8-bolt and 10 bolts that everybody used to run. My first Mod Lite had one, and I absolutely hated that thing.
Pull the axles out.
Yeah, oh, it was miserable.
I still have one in the shop, by the way, so.
I just bought another car, and the guy tried to give me one with it, and I'm like, I don't want that thing.
But another thing to mention is that we're using the transmission that's on the motor. And with the quick change rear end, you can fine tune your gear. And so some of us have a gear setup that run in second gear, some of us run in third, some of us run in fourth. So, you know, the great thing about these motorcycle engines is that you can get to your desired, you know, final drive that you want by either just flipping your gears and having all kinds of different sets of spur gears. So, whereas the Toyota, you're just confined to whatever spools in that rear end. But with what we have now, you know, we can go from big tracks to small tracks, and we don't. All it needs 5 minutes and a set of spur gears, and we're there.
And like you said, the versatileness of that rear end, you can get all the way down to a couple points different if you got all your gears and your charts right and stuff like that. You can really fine tune.
Y'all all came from running full body cars, sprint cars. When you sat down in these, when you first went out on the track and you put your foot into the thing, were you surprised?
Oh, yeah.
The horsepower to weight ratio?
My first year on one, I was actually racing a mini stock and a Mod Lite at the same time. And you talking about an adjustment to go from a mini stock to one of these. It was easier to go from this to the mini stock, but it took me a minute to figure out when I would have to go from the mini stock to the Mod Lite, because you enter the corner so much faster. Your responses it's off the chart different.
Bryce, what about you?
Well, I used to have a wing on top of my head for a long time, and I used to have that drive shaft going between my feet. But when I got out, the fact that these cars are so light and nimble just really impressed me. You know, that was kind of the first time I had a full body around me, whereas I grew up having exposed rear tires and stuff. So, I mean, it was definitely an adjustment. I mean, it took me probably about a whole year just to get used to it.
Kevin, what do you think?
I'm still learning.
Still learning?
Still learning. Yeah, I know you can't sling these in the corners. I'm used to outlaw modified. You sling in the corners, and, you know, you're back on the gas. You can't do it in these.
So were you surprised about the speed
Yeah.
and how racy these cars are?
Yeah, I like these better than modified.
Doc, what about you?
I like it. I mean, when I got into it, the gas on the first time, compared to a big car, it definitely comes alive. I mean, just like he said, you know, I mean, big body cars and stuff, they go in the corner so much easier and it's so much slower compared to the car. I mean, we're going into the corner, but coming off that corner, you better hold on. They're coming alive.
So it was enlightening
Oh,
moment.
it's the fastest thing I've ever rode. I love it. The horsepower now, just compared, I mean, people don't think these cars are that quick, you know. Videos, they don't really look quick, but you know, you go watch them. You're surprised once you get. There's been a lot of people that come up to me and ask and say, how fast are those cars go? Honestly, we don't know until we're on that track.
I mean, a lot of people say they run real close to the IMCA modified.
Just was my
I
head on
mean,
that.
pretty much the same
with the transponders and stuff now, we get to look at our lap times, and we'll start comparing. That's one of the things I like to do is compare them to the other classes at the track. And a lot of nights we're kind of even there, and then there's nights that they're faster than we are, and there's nights that we're faster than they are. I think this previous weekend, but the weekend before, when we were at Plummerville, I won that night and turned a faster lap time than the modifieds did. So they're real close, and that's been a deal going on through the last couple of years of which one's faster. Plummerville did a deal one time where they actually ran them together, and it was pretty interesting to watch. Yeah.
I know last Friday we was like a second or more in the factory stop there. You get the modifiers, but nobody's factory stop.
Yeah. And you bring up running the modified and Mod Lite together. Let's get over something into an area here. Let's talk about the safety of the small cars. Somebody want to jump in and talk about how these cars are constructed and how safe they are.
I know I flipped both a modified and a Modlights, and I walked away from both of them. But it was a lot while we were riding that Mod Lite. But I walked away from it fine, and good seats, safety equipment. That all's the same in between cars and stuff. As long as you got the good safety equipment, I think you're gonna be okay.
I really preach full containment seats, no matter if you're running a Mod Lite or anything. These cars are very well built. He was saying that I had some drive shaft issues a couple years ago, and we had these hoops built that kind of contained the drive shaft. And then when we got home, you could see that drive shaft was trying to get in there and attack me in the car, but the steel hoops that are built in these frames protected me from the drive shaft getting to me. So, these cars, if they're built properly, by someone that builds them for a living, these cars are very safe.
And I just want to throw that out there for people that may not be familiar, and we always, like I said, we're big on safety too. So any type of car that we're doing a show on, we want to talk about the safety aspect of that car. We want to hopefully help somebody get interested in road play. You just have something, what the Mod Lights market. How many members do y'all have?
This year we're at 44 members, which is the largest we've ever had. I took over what used to be the Arkansas Golf Car Club about 3 years ago because I was running Mod Lights, and I wanted to, being a promoter, I love putting on races, but at the same time I wanted to do something more than just race these cars. I wanted to better my class. And at the time, I got in touch with a gentleman named Chris Tucker, who races the 14 Mod Lite, and we sat down and, at the time we asked, what did people think, and they said, well, we would like to see an organization that kind of helps grow this class, and we formed the Modlights of Arkansas. And since then, this is currently our third season going. The numbers have been growing every year. This year on our travel races, we're averaging 30 cars a night. Which when we first started up, we went from a 16 average to a 24 average last year. This year we're at a 30 plus average. So the numbers don't lie. The class is just growing in popularity. But also, it's attracting the attention of other Mod Lite groups several states away.
And I was fixing to get into that. Talk about the popularity of Mod Lite racing in other states.
Well, I want to say Iowa and Texas, they're pretty popular.
We had some guys from Texas coming this weekend race with us at Downhill.
Yeah.
And the rules are all pretty much close to, they're all the same.
Well, we all run under the same sanctioning body, which is STARS, which has been taken over by IMCA. So pretty much, there's really like two major sanctioning bodies for these cars, and the rules are pretty similar. I mean, the only difference is maybe a tire rule, or maybe it's something smaller in there. But we had at old number one, we had a gentleman named Dylan Rafferty. He's one of the top 20 drivers in the nation. He come down there and he put it on us. He won at Marshalltown, Iowa, Friday night, then drove from Marshalltown, Iowa to Harrisburg, Arkansas. Didn't have to change, he had to change gear, but he had the same car because we all have the same rules. So we've been attracting a lot of visitors from states away to come race with us.
And here's the four-play speed muffler question of the week. What do you think it was about Mod Lite racing that attracted a sanctioned body like IMCA?
Growth. Growth. I mean, in a time where racing itself is getting more expensive as far as materials, to build cars, fuel to go to the track, and you can't deny seeing at I-30 Speedway. I mean, we were struggling to put two heat races together, 4 years ago. Yeah, now we're having two B mains, and it's steadily growing, and right now there's no end in sight.
Where do you anticipate, guys, like I said with the IMCA getting involved, where do y'all think that this is possibly going to take Mod Lite racing?
I think it's going to get it more national exposure, kind of get it on some TV like Flow Racing, IMCA TV.
Arkansas Motorsports Magazine.
Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. But
Y'all were the first.
you were first. It's just it's still growing. I mean, like I said, there's no end in sight. The first race for Mod Lite racing is usually down in Florida, and they race with USAC down at Bubba Raceway Park in Ocala. And we all see more people getting into it, and I want to see us get on TV more.
I'd like to see something about it.
Oh man, it's St.
I
Louis.
know a question Case wanted to ask, he's not going to do it, but if we were to get one of these, you think there's room for a C main out there for me to take to be in?
Might be a G or an H main.
The way it's growing right now.
We actually tried to get into the Chili Bowl or to the Tulsa Shootout with the micros, and they told us that you guys are too big. We won't have enough parking. We would love to have you, but there'll be just too many of you.
What will, and this may already be announced, and we're just behind on it, but IMCA has the Super National. What will be the race for the Mod Lights?
What's the big race?
What's that going to
for y'all for a
be? Any
year?
idea where IMCA is going? Something like a Super National for the Mod Light, or has that been discussed?
Well, we used to have, we called it Super Nationals here at Little Rock. And I think this year it's got a different name, but it's still the same race. And the first year we had it was in the mid-50s. Last year we had 73 cars. I think we're going to break 80. But I want to say, to my knowledge, the largest paying Mod Lite race for the last 2 to 3 years has been at I-30 Speedway in September.
And it pays.
This year it's paying $6,000 a win.
What did it pay last year?
$6,000 last year. The previous year was $5,000.
Trying to think of who won that. No, I knew Bryce.
Who won last year? Ronnie Choke.
Ronnie Choke.
You talked about guys coming up from Texas, and I know years ago when dwarf cars get started, dwarf cars were a really hot item down in Texas. How's the Mod Lite temperature down there?
Dwarf car racing is still very popular in Texas and over in Oklahoma as well. But
And we say dwarf car, and I'll let one of you guys kind of talk about the differences. I mean, we've said dwarf cars, and there's people at home that have never seen one, but
you've raced one. Yeah, the first one you raced before.
Well, yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't go about 20 laps, all I did.
I don't know a whole lot of difference in the body styles.
I've heard people changing the dwarf car to a Mod Lite.
There's a lot of
there was a lot of that when the Mod Lights first started.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversions.
I think my first car was a conversion, if I remember right.
I know the dwarf cars can run 1,200 or 1,250 pounds. There's less car, they're lighter weight cars. I know that most dwarf cars are underslung chassis to where basically there's a frame rail that goes underneath the rear end, whereas a lot of our cars now are overslung where there's no frame rail underneath the rear end. I know that dwarf cars can still run the old carbureted 1100, 1200 motors, and it's not that much of an advantage. I mean, we actually have a race where we combine dwarf cars and Mod Lights together, and I must tell you, you look at the top 5, there's dwarf cars and Modlights in there. We had a guy that come from the B and ran third dwarf car last year.
And they still run the old Model A type body. I guess it resembles the old
Right.
Model A type Ford cars.
And they're building brand new dwarf cars right now.
So obviously here in Arkansas, we like the Mod Lite setup. You know, it resembles the IMCA modified.
And we was talking about the rear end stuff. These are all 3-link
3-link suspension.
suspension in them. Talk a little bit about the shocks. I mean, you know, once you get into modified racing and everybody talks about shocks, and shocks are thousands and thousands of dollars, you know, modified, but this right here is a whole different deal.
Get that,
You're on the back.
well, I didn't, I
I run the ones right off the shelf from Bill stands.
got BSB.
That's what I'm saying, you can
Yeah, you can go all the way from the, like I said, off the shelf Bilsteins all the way up to, I think, Walrus or something has a shock package.
Yeah.
There's
There's a shock claim on the
Yeah.
well, I think it used to be $100, and they bumped it up to $150. So that way you couldn't claim a BSB for less than what it was brand new.
Do y'all see much claiming in your rules?
No. There's a genuine respect. And, you know, when I first got back into Mod Lite racing, I had a gentleman named Jeremy Wilson come up and say, hey, I just want you to know that shock right there, that's not legal. And I didn't know. And so whenever we see something on somebody else's car, we'll, you know, pull them aside and say, hey, you know, we don't want you to get in trouble. You might want to address this issue or that issue on your car. So we haven't really seen a need for shock claiming. I know that it's been talked about, but I want to say that there's still a gentleman's agreement in place.
Good.
Plus you gotta run the top 5 to get played, huh?
Now you're on top set. But yeah, you can run the top 5 and claim it. That's probably the second one to it.
Well, Levi, I guess now that brings us to the New Vision Custom Shirts vision for the future segment.
We'll start with that. 2021, what are we looking for you? How do you dress this year?
As goal-wise, man, I've been fighting for a long time. I've never won at I-30. Honestly, never even won a heat race at I-30. That'll be the biggest goal this year is to win a race there. It's close to home, it's a local track. I've won a bunch of other places, but never won there. That's my goal this year. Most goal was to win the IMCA points for Arkansas, but that's not going to happen, but we'll try next year.
Kevin?
Just run good, mainly. I'm still getting the feel of the car. I got my first top 2 finish, or top 5 finishes at Somerville.
You run second to me.
I ran second to him a couple weeks ago, and I ran third to Wilson's last Friday, so. Yeah, I ran second to Centerville, so I just want to maybe win one this year. That'd be really good. Not tear up, though.
Yeah.
And you've come a long ways in the last year.
I mean, you won one of the Rising Stars races we had last year over at Harrisburg, wasn't it?
Yeah, I won it.
And Hard Charger too.
Yeah, then I won a Hard Charger.
You passed like 11 cars that night.
Yeah, then I made the Friday night show at the Super Nationals at Little Rock last year. At 70 some doors. I went to the heat race, D main, C main, and B main, and by the time I got to the A main, I was ready to go to sleep on one start.
Bryce?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, point racing's not fun, and I know I'm leading points at I-30 and the MLA, but my goal is just to keep running competitively and having fun, because this class ain't about being stressed out. I mean, if I wanted to get point racing, I mean, I did point racing. You know, I actually lost some friends along the way because I was so in tune with it. But my goal is I want to challenge for the win every night, no matter where I'm at, and just keep having fun. And then if there was a big picture goal, I want to be the first 2-time winner of Super Nationals at Little Rock. But until then, I just want to run as hard as I can and just enjoy myself.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I started out the season wanting to win some races, and we've done that on some local night shows. So now my goal is to get an in-their-way win. I feel like I've been knocking on the door of a couple of them, but I haven't quite got the door open yet. So hopefully that's where we can go by the end of the season. And I'd like to make Super Nationals again. I made it the first year and actually ran in the top 5 for a while until the arms gave out. Kevin talks about it. They will wear you out at times.
I got to tell you, Gage, about that year, I appreciate you showing me the outside was where I needed to be. Because had you not done that,
I flew around everybody.
I kept seeing that 7 car. I was like, maybe I should go up there too.
I got her rolling, but by the end of it, I was so wore out. All I could do was protect.
And you got one thing we didn't talk about. I want to mention these cars have rack and pinion steering.
Yes.
Which there's, you go talk about classic cars out here. Generally, rack and pinion is not allowed, but rack and pinion is these things.
He's not power steering here.
Yeah, power steering.
Like I said, you can get the handle of real racing.
Yeah, the car we're talking about, the 7 car, it didn't have power steering that year, but after that race, we bought power steering the next year.
Because I sold a bunch of power steering units that year.
You did. But my new car doesn't have power steering, but the way the front end was designed and stuff, I have not needed it yet. I've not gotten wore out like I did in the previous cars. They're all different, but they're all just as fast.
Yep.
You said earlier maybe making a trip to Boone this year.
Yeah.
Thinking about it.
I would like to. We'll have to see how some family stuff goes. But
And they race these cars at Boone. So
I'm like Titan. I'm having a baby this year, so she's going to be around that same area, so or same timeline. So we got to see when she decides to make her appearance.
Well, guys, I tell you, we've really enjoyed getting to speak with y'all tonight about Mod Lite racing. We're big fans of it, and like I said, it was great that y'all made time out of your busy week schedule to be on tonight. Hopefully in the future we do more shows about Mod Lite racing, and like I said, it's awesome to have y'all on here tonight. Like I said, if there's someone out there that's interested in racing Mod Lights, it's Modlights of Arkansas on Facebook.
Yes.
And check it out there, or go to I-30 Speedway or wherever else these guys are racing, and they're like I said, they're real approachable, and they'll be glad to tell you anything, and well, I'll say they're going to tell you everything you need to know about their racers, but they'll help get you started. So, like I said, Heath, you're going to tell everybody, you're going to keep the secret.
keep it secret just for a day or two, and then we're going to let everybody know.
Okay, Heath's on this kick where he likes to drag it out during the week, keep everybody in tune with what's going on. But
we appreciate y'all talking to us about these cars. And we've been asked a lot about them, just out running around. Have we seen them? What do we think about them? And there's lots of people out there talking about them.
And that's because of the great shows that y'all are putting on. So give yourself a big round of applause for that. But anyway, before we wrap up tonight, we want to thank our sponsors, Chambers Bank, 28 locations throughout Arkansas. They're there to meet all your banking needs. We want to thank KR Performance Fuels, Kevin Rogers, Shaw Race Cars up in Batesville, Arkansas. We thank New Vision Custom Shirts. We thank True Grit Auctions, Arkansas's #1 online auctioneers, Western Petroleum. We want to thank 4Place Speed and Muffler Shop down in Punkville, Arkansas, Ecky's Parts and Accessories down in North Little Rock, and let's see, Straight Line Transmissions over in Greenbrier, Arkansas, and Silver Dragway and Prescott Raceway down in Prescott. So for all of our guys and our guests here tonight, some of the very best in Mod Lite racing in Arkansas, I'm Bill Gilkey for Heath Tate, our production manager Aaron Gilkey back there. And we'll see you back next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. from some secret location in Arkansas.